You have kids.
I'm not having kids.
What you mean you're not having kids?
I'm not having kids.
That's what you was born here to do.
No, I'm not.
Why would you not want to have kids?
Why would I?
I'm asking you.
Why don't I want to have kids? I don't see any benefit.
For giving somebody life?
You have a kid and your life becomes about the kid. I want my life to be about me.
Oh, you selfish.
That's okay.
That's what you were born here to do. There is this crazy recent rise of pushing trad wife beliefs onto women and claiming that they're not good women if they're not traditional, particularly in relation to having babies. And it has particularly risen with the rise of this new incoming administration. I mean, I've done countless videos on JD Vance and his hatred of women, especially women who choose to either be single or not have children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. If you look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
You go on Twitter, and almost always the people who are most deranged and most psychotic are people who don't have kids at home.
So many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
And so you have people at Yale Law School, you have women who think that truly the liberationist path is to spend 90 hours a week working in a cubicle at McKinsey instead of starting a family and having children. To me, what it is sort of a value system to replace the fact that they're all fundamentally atheist or agnostic. They have no real value system. Their only value system is achieve in a very conventional way.
I do love the inclusion of Pete Buttigieg as a miserable childless cat lady. I also really like that if you're not a Christian with kids, you have no value system. But the big piece of commentary surrounding right now women who choose to either, again, be single and especially not have children is that they are selfish, because obviously you exist as a woman on this planet to provide babies for men. And if you're not doing that, that is selfish. Okay. I guess I'm selfish. I'll be selfish. You want to call me selfish? That's fine. I would rather you call me selfish than me have to have a child that I don't want. And a big part of this reason that women are called selfish for this, and it's just part of it, there are multiple reasons, is that the birth rate is declining. We see fear-mongering about the birth rate everywhere.
Advocates are sounding the alarm on America's baby bust as our country's birth rate hits a record low. Last year, about 3.5 million children were born in the U.S. That's the lowest number of births since 1979. Our next guest says the downward trend is, quote, this is from her op-ed in the Washington Examiner. It says, a reflection of a society increasingly soaked in an anti-family ideology that views children as burdens rather than blessings. A society that fails to value children is one that risks losing its sense of purpose, continuity, and responsibility.
We have a housing crisis. We have a no one can afford to live right now crisis. We have an immigration crisis. We have an adoption crisis. And yet, you want the birth rate to be higher? 3.5 million babies is still a lot of babies. Is there some us going extinct immediate concern that we're having that I'm just unaware of? Because to me, it seems like we have so many people that we're having trouble housing them all, providing food for them all, providing health care for them all. We can't even get people to adopt the children that are put into foster care. So what is the big, scary, fear-mongering thing about the declining birth rate? If anything, it kind of seems like the way society, we should be having just I'm not saying to totally stop having babies. I think we're really far from that. But we should probably be having a few less babies. This seems like a positive spin for society at this moment. And instead of questioning, okay, people are seeing having kids as a burden these days. Why is that? They're just blaming people for viewing it that way. Instead of thinking, oh, maybe it's unaffordable. Oh, maybe people are overworked and they have to work 2 jobs. You've got 2 parents and they both have to work 2 jobs in order to afford their house. There's no time and there's no money to have a kid.
A lot of them talk about the fact that they basically wanted to prioritize their career. They wanted to make a lot of money and get really comfortable before they decided to settle down and raise their kids. And then a lot of them want to return to work after they have children. So maybe they're having fewer children. Daycare and childcare prices are pretty high. They're skyrocketing now. So if you want to go back to work or have to go back to work, that is basically eating up your entire paycheck. And so I think it's a combination of sort of economic and cultural changes between women being more likely to go to college than men, more likely to enter the workforce and have a high-paying career.
Add into the fact that of all the developed nations on this earth, the United States by far has the highest mother mortality rate. And add into that the new abortion bans that are just increasing that number. It is incredibly risky, especially in the United States, for a woman to have a baby, especially when you know they won't choose you. They will choose the baby every time. They will choose losing you both over just the mother living.
Yes, when polled, men always report that they want children way more than women do. And it's because men having a child and women having a child are 2 completely different experiences in society, both physically and mentally, and honestly socially too. For starters, a lot of people don't know that the US has by far the highest mortality rate of all of the developing nations. And will I even survive giving birth isn't a thought that men even have to have.
It's not selfish to not want to just die, or possibly you and the baby die because you know for a fact they won't save you if there is a need to do so. It's not selfish to not want to have kids because you can't afford it, because you can't provide the lifestyle that you think a child should have. If anything, it's selfless, because there are people that I personally know who would have kids, who would get pregnant and have babies if the society that we lived in provided support and wasn't so unbelievably expensive to exist in. And it's not selfish to not want to have kids just because you don't want to have kids. You could have the means and the health access that you need and still not want to have kids. And that's not selfish, because women weren't put here on this earth to have kids. We weren't put here on this earth for any reason. No one was put on this earth for any reason. I hate to break it to you. It's all a happy accident. And you can do whatever you want with your time on earth. It is a society created by men that says that women have to give birth. There is absolutely no reason why you should have to do that. No reason.